Greetings Nerdy List aficionados and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd, and today we're looking at superheroes who are cheaters, romantically speaking that is, because that title could mean a lot of things, like they fight dirty or they don't play fair, but today it's about romance, we'll save that for another time. These are superheroes who are hot messes, and yes, Cyclops is on here, you already know that, but what number is he? You'll have to stick around to find out. I'm Sasha and these are the top 10 superheroes who cheat. Get ready for the tea, the scandal, I'm ready, I was born ready. Number 10, Batman and Wonder Woman. Oh Wonder Bat, we meet again. When it comes to pairing up the Trinity, people normally go for the super obvious jock cheerleader style pairing of Superman and Wonder Woman, and there's nothing wrong with the tried and true. But some people want something a little bit more peculiar, and so they go Batman and Wonder Woman. And of course, for people like me, an intellectual, you can always go Superbat. Anyway, this pairing appeared most prominently in the DCAU's Justice League, but in the modern era, Batman at the time of this recording, during the arc when he was engaged to Selina, it happened again. You know that a character being engaged or in a relationship is catnip to writers. They just perk right up and go, what? Taken? Cheating? Where? So this occurred in Batman 39 and 40, so in Batman's own book, and it was an almost cheat. All of a sudden Wonder Woman is just like, Bruce, he's taken. Time to make my move. Them moving in for a kiss is the cliffhanger of issue 39. And then in 40, Batman is all like, no, I can't, I'm marrying Selina. Ha, no you aren't. DC says no marriages. I just love that this was a will he or won't he cheat cliffhanger. Na 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 na, not a cheater. But he thought about it real hard. However, then we have the Justice League book. Number 9, Batman and Jessica CRUZ, one of the Green Lanterns. So internal memos, they matter. Tell people what you're doing. Over in Justice League 38, which now in the timeline they say, oh no, this will all happen before, after, but not at the same time as Catwoman. However, when all of this was coming out, or depending upon how you read it, this was Cheating City. So Batman was the leader of the Justice League. Why? I don't know. Who would vote for that? Anyway, he didn't handle an arc well with a certain baddie, called the Fan, who yes, of course, was an obsessed fan and a jab at bad modern comic fans. So a pleasure to read. Who doesn't love seeing themselves mocked or satirized for the actions of a vocal few who have come to be the ambassadors for the whole? I know I don't. Batman was asked to resign by Superman after all of this, and he does, but Jessica CRUZ, who suddenly has feelings for him after spending issues pining after Barry Allen, follows him into the locker room and is all, well, this is about to get complicated, and kisses him, and he just stands there. Hot? Yeah, this is one of those weird overlap things where it's okay in one book but not in another. New 52 vibes. Number 8, Tim Drake and JUBILEE. Cheating on spoiler. Woohoo! Love for Tim Drake, by which I mean we're talking about him. He has been very sidelined of late. So Marvel and DC ran a crossover series in the 90s. They've had many crossovers, but this one is one of the better remembered because it would lead into the Amalgam universe. During the fighting portion of this, where characters had to battle to see who was strongest, Tim was paired up against JUBILEE. And she was so thirsty. She thought he was the cutest and wasn't shy about it. In fact, it would be part of why she lost the battle. Yes, JUBILEE, now classified as some Omega potential, or well, she was pre-House of X, but still with decent abilities, was defeated by Robin. She would share a kiss with him despite him having a girlfriend and him telling her that. And she would actually cross dimensions later on to see him again. He looks so flattered but also horrified. It's an interesting emotional mix and probably accurate. JUBILEE needs to calm down. Crossing dimensions and companies. Number 7, Spider-Man and Silk cheating on Anna. Spider-Man has had many love interests, and some have been quite iconic. You know them, Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, the Black Cat, Felicia Hardy, but there are others, and post his time as Superior Spider-Man, one of those was Anna Maria, kinda. She was a great match for him intellectually and an asset in helping him run his company. The rationale behind why she was there was kind of, well, they meant it well, but it's one of those compliments that is a backhand insult, with Slott talking about how all of Peter's love interests had been traditionally beautiful and how that was unrealistic and it was time to change that. So basically tokenizing Anna and reducing her down to one of her traits, her dwarfism. That's gross. Anna deserves better. She also deserved better than to be cheated on. She comes home and those two are on the ceiling. Okay, so the relationship between Peter and Anna is complicated. It was kind of platonic because she was more in love with Otto, who had been in Peter's body before that, but they still live together and share an apartment. On the ceiling. Come on, Peter. This was cause Silk and Peter, their pheromones interact and they actually can't keep their hands off each other, which also gross. Though that's my opinion. Some love it and think that makes them endgame. Share your thoughts down below. Number 6. Scott Summers, Madeline Pryor, and Jean Grey. Get ready. Oh yes, it's time for Scott, cheater extraordinaire, in the arc that started a lot of fans on the path towards hating him. So, Jean Grey died after the whole Phoenix Saga thing, and Scott was devastated, but that changed when he met a woman who looked exactly like Jean, Madeline Pryor, who it turned out looked so much like her because she was her clone, made for him by Mr. Sinister. He would go on to marry her and have a child, Nathaniel, Nate, aka Cable, with her. However, Jean was alive and Scott would leave his family to be with her, not keeping in touch with them and not telling Jean about his new life and kid. What a winner. This arc would make many fans majorly lose sympathy for Cyclops. I mean, the actions are hardly heroic, which is fine, but it also makes sense why people don't want to get behind him either. Number 5. Connor Kent, Wonder Girl, and Tim Drake. So this one can be chalked up to sadness. So Wonder Girl, Cassandra Sandsmark, was dating Superboy, Connor Kent, but he up and died as you do, and she was distraught. So was his best friend Tim Drake, and the two, well, they just needed some comfort, and they were both there, and they both knew him, and while emotions got out of control, things happened. However, Connor wasn't dead, cause who is? I mean, really, yes, be sad, but you should give people a grace period, because I mean, look at how long Clark took before he came back to life. You gotta give people at least 2 months. But after all of this, Cassandra kinda liked him too. But this whole arc died hard. They're all separated, or were, but it happened, so it counts. Number 4. The Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, Namor, and Reed Richards. Now, the 2018 Fantastic Four comic had the audacity to say that Namor and Sue aren't canon. Where were you? This is a thing. At the very least, she is having an emotional affair with him. Namor has been in love with Sue pretty much since he saw her, and they have been the focus of several what-ifs where they end up married. Also, just alternate dimension universe stories where they're also married. But even in Mainverse, the two have shared kisses. He's asked her to be his queen. Even Reed and Sue's son knows that Namor is in love with her. Namor has told Reed to his face that he has been trying to get Sue to leave him. This is when they were both on the Illuminati. Namor and Sue have a long history. She seeks him out when she is sad or neglected, and he has and will go above and beyond for her. They have a deep relationship, and Reed for his part just kinda lets it happen. Sue and Reed have a complex marriage. Sue loves Reed despite everything, but he's also been very distant and neglectful, and she's sought comfort elsewhere, even if at times it's just emotional. Nowadays, Reed is a more attentive husband and father, but Namor is there, waiting. He's always waiting. He's patient. She could be queen of the sea. Even Valeria, her and Reed's daughter, called her mom out for co-signing her father's behavior and went to live with Doom for a bit. Doom is her godfather, and he named her. The more you know. Number 3. Scott Summers, Jean Grey, and Emma Frost. Hello, Scott. We meet again, for the last time, on this list at least. So this happened during Grant Morrison's new X-Men run, when Emma Frost would find herself becoming a teacher at Xavier's school. This was after the genocide on Genosha, which is hard to say. She would enter into a relationship with Scott under the guise of therapy, and while there they would do some role-playing, which would involve her transforming into Jean as the Phoenix, and this got kinky real fast. And Scott, once a cheater always a cheater Summers, was down. So these two would carry on this affair until Jean found out and tortured Emma with her worst memories. And then Jean would just know about noble sacrifice, so we never really had to deal with any of it. And now we have House of X, where maybe Jean, Scott, and Logan are a throuple. Comic canon is a wonderful, beautiful, changing, magical place. Don't date or marry Scott Summers. This has been a PSA. Number 2. Aquaman, Mera, and Dolphin. This was another sad, grief-driven cheating. So Black Manta killed Arthur and Mera's son, and in a depressing bit of realism, this drives the couple apart, and she actually seemingly leaves him for another dimension and to grieve. And so eventually he's like, okay, I guess it's time to move on, and he takes up with Dolphin. However, then suddenly Mera is all, I'm back, and annoyed that he is even with Dolphin, even though it's been a long time. So the two would eventually reconcile and move on. But this one had some extenuating circumstances. Is it stepping out if your wife is in another dimension and kind of implied that she was never coming back? I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. And number 1. Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon, and Starfire. The question of who should be with Dick Grayson has been an ongoing one. Barbara Gordon or Starfire. He has had profound relationships with both. He's asked both to marry him, and at one point cheated on Starfire, who was his fiancée at the time, with Barbara. So what happened? Well, he went to see Barbara to invite her to his wedding, but it was shortly after all the Killing Joke stuff and she was Oracle, and the two ended up sleeping together and comforting each other, and Barbara thought they were getting back together. But in the morning he gave her the invitation to his wedding. That's right, he hadn't told her. She rightfully threw the invitation in his face. Just wow, Dick, way to live up to your name. Rick would never, because he's not interesting enough. So those were 10 times superheroes cheated. Did we miss any? Let me know down below. Did any of these shock you? I'm Sasha, and thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. We'll see you again soon. Bye!